Nick can get it.
Nick, Nick can probably get it. You're right.
Nick can get it.
He might be able to get there. I know that's right.
And he would beat it up too.
Ooh, you're right.
He strikes me as lazy in bed, though.
Ooh, you think so?
See, I don't think so. I think he's like.
I think he's gonna put that little turban back on.
Nah, man, she gonna be like this. He gonna be like, nah, bitch.
Nick Cannon strikes me as the kind of guy that likes to show off, even in the bedroom. Like he would want to videotape it and then watch it later, eating some ice cream and popcorn. Like that energy.
I feel like Mariah would be a
100%. She ain't working for shit.
Girl, she barely working for them coins. She barely do much for them coins. So
she's like,
right. Look, that's where those whistle notes went to. He was knocking that shit out.
She's still hoarse.
Oh, not my girl Mariah.
She's still hoarse.
OMG.
Hey community, you're now tuning into Minority Report.
Biden and the Black Agenda.
Ask your aunties. Company call out.
And Nick Cannon versus Viacom. So get your cups ready for Minority Report.
Hey community.
Another week. What you haven't said this about another week, another episode. Another week, another episode. And this week I'm be blocked and be blessed. That's my shirt this week. Yes, Jesus.
Be black and be blessed. Mine's justice for Black Lives this week.
Ma'am.
You know.
I had my Black Lives t-shirt already laid out and pressed and ready for the episode, and I'm just like, I don't want to.
Out.
I know. Okay, I don't want to put these away.
She gave us a deep V. Okay, come on, Scoop.
Come on, right? Yeah.
Wait, do I need to cover up?
Scoop that.
Yes, I'm here for it. Have a little nip slip. Come on, Janet.
Anything for the community. We love you.
And community, I'm hopefully you're having a great day. Please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Please hit the bell. Helps the algorithm. So, we're trying to grow a little bit on YouTube. So if you can help us out there, also leave a review on Apple if you want to for the podcast. We're seeing our numbers grow, so that's awesome. So we appreciate that. So thank you. But yeah, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. And here we go.
I feel like people are falling into a different rhythm at this point of, Corona life. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because if you think about what it was like 2 months ago, everything was in limbo. And I feel like now that we've been in this for like a good 4.5 months, everything's starting to get into a certain kind of rhythm and a certain kind of motion.
Because I'm seeing more and more folks out without masks, and I'm like, bitches, like this shit is still out here.
Hey, I mean, from the numbers that I see, rumor has it is this country might go back on lockdown come Labor Day weekend.
It's looking like it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to.
We're gonna have
because
to go back
people are not now. I'm gonna say this, knowing that we had a little bit of incident last week up here in New York.
Oh yeah,
all them days,
they showed their asses. But that was kind of I feel like that was kind of a white privilege kind of thing. I lived in Harlem, where the black and brown people at. So
I don't know. I saw some black videos too from people like in the pool parties and shit. I'm like,
that was in Atlanta.
That was in Atlanta.
It was like Megan Thee Stallion meets Cardi B meets City Girls meets T.I. music video.
Part of me was where was my invite? And then the other part of me was like, take your ass home.
They were doing the absolute most. First of all, that pool party was packed.
Absolutely.
Absolutely packed. There was no room. Nobody had a damn mask on.
Nope.
They over there flipping people over.
There was no social distancing at all.
They had that good wigs on. I was like,
And the water. and in the water. Like, that's the thing that I don't understand. How you got like your weeds and your wigs on and you getting that shit wet?
Look, you know black people,
they said, black people
have zero fucks when they in the pool. As soon as we get our asses in the pool, we're like, oh, we don't care. We don't care. It's
I mean, once it's wet, it's a wrap.
Nonetheless.
Yeah. Right.
But you know what? I bet you there's a whole lot of like, you know, everybody got time now, so you can watch a whole bunch of YouTube videos. I think a lot of people then got educated. They
didn't learn how to swim.
Oh, girl. I had to take swim lessons. I was just talking to my mom the other night, and I don't even know how we got on this subject, but she was like, remember when your dad made y'all take swim lessons like every summer? I was like, yes. And like literally after like the 5th summer, we're like, we know how to swim, and we don't want to go no more. We're done with this. We are done going to swim class.
That's crazy how that's still like such a stereotype though, but like it's still real though. Like I know so many black folks that don't know how to swim. Like they be swimming like they be fighting niggas like fighting for their lives. You know, and I'd be like, it ain't that. It's gonna be okay, baby.
I do feel like that's an issue of proximity and opportunity though. You know what I mean? Because where most black people live, there's not a lot of like swimming opportunities that just present themselves.
I don't know those, because Chicago South Side, we got that big ass lake.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, like not all black neighborhoods do have like a lake that you can get to.
That's true.
You know, like at least in Gary, you know, we had our lakes and too. We could get to Lake Michigan and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess I'm just jaded from growing up in the Midwest where there's always lakes.
And I do feel like Lake Michigan is a very different thing than Lake Minnetonka. You know what I mean? Like, Lake Michigan in Chicago is like the goddamn ocean. They got waves. You can go surfing and whatnot. You got to know how to really swim to make that shit. And even when I lived in Chicago, and I've been there a bunch of times to the lake or whatever, it was just like I didn't really get in the water. You know?
No.
Same. I don't know.
A lot of times
it was cold though. You're right.
I don't know. Lakes they just seem bodies of water just seem dirty to me. Unless it's the damn pool where you know there's chlorine. Like it's just I'm like it's a no. It's a no to me.
No, I liked it. I like getting in the lake.
Yeah. But, I mean, since we're already on the conversation of lakes and everything, rest in peace to Naya Rivera, who was found last week, who found drowned in Lake Piru. Is that how you pronounce it? Lake Piru? Like 50 miles north of LA. And it also came out like her son was telling the police that like the last thing he remember is his mom helping him into the boat and turned around and he didn't see her anymore, you know. So she's like, just rest in peace to her and her family. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's just so sad. And I was always such a huge fan of her because I love the show Glee. Especially when it was I know Brian Murphy, so Dewan was like but I liked her and I liked Amber Riley on the show. I just love seeing the representation of, you know, of POC women, you know, singing and, you know, they didn't get the spotlight they deserved because we both know that they were bomb ass singers, but they just brought a flair to the show. And her sass and her one-liner, she read bitches to filth on that show. If you have not seen a video of her reading, just Google YouTube Santana reading people, and I've been taking notes, okay? Like, she reads your whole bloodline, bitch, your chromosomes and everything, bitch. Like,
I'm so fascinated with like the whole like writing, the script writing process, because like it's one thing to be an actor to bring something to life, but then it's another thing to think of the words to put you mentally as a writer, I would imagine, because that's not me, but I would imagine you have to put yourself in the mindset of who that person is, where they come from, what their background, what their motivations are, and then speak from that point of truth. And like when I hear stuff like, or watch something on television, you know, like when Electra gave that iconic read or whatever, you know, and it's just like, how does one come up with this? Like, how do you put the words on the paper as opposed to like saving it for like somebody in your real life? You know what I mean?
And think it's probably that they wanted to say something, but they're like,
right.
oh, okay, I'm gonna just write this shit out.
It's like one of those moments where like you're reflecting on like all the arguments that you had and you didn't have anything a good comeback, and then you came with a good comeback, so you write that shit down and use this in that episode.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, like literally that read from Elektra, that's her character in Glee at least twice every episode. Just, I mean, truth be told, if I ever came across somebody like that in real life, I'd be trying to fight because it was just straight up disrespectful. But I loved every bit of it, and I liked her as a person, and just I think she was just really awesome, man. It just really kind of hit my spirit just to hear that. So, and that's the third person from that cast to pass away. On top of that, they found her body on the 7-year anniversary of the first person that passed away from that show. Yeah, so
a lot of layers.
Look, all of a sudden I started thinking about Final Destination. I said, lock all of them up, put them all in a room because.
That's wild. And
wow.
Yeah, so shout out to their family. You're in my prayers and thoughts. Like, especially the little kid, 4 years old, to grow up without your mom now. That's a lot. That's a lot. So and then also thank you, Tim, for opening the show.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks, Tim.
That's my
I love the upward trajectory we just did there.
I know we had
down
to
here, and then Tim bringing us back up.
We had to bring it back up to this level.
And I don't think you guys have seen the video. Like I extracted the audio from the video, but for the YouTube, I'm gonna put his video in. The way he swooped and did his little hair thing. His little hair, you'll see it. It's funny. So community, watch the YouTube opening for this one. It's funny. But yeah, that's my buddy from college. He's hilarious. Like I said last week, we've been on this this college group that has been formed on Facebook. It literally has been like a throwback to what Facebook used to be. And so like just to hear all these random stories and things like that. And so like we've all been kind of putting little tidbits of, oh man, remember this party, or oh man, remember this, da da da. And it's been like nostalgia. But Tim has some stories. That dude enjoyed college thoroughly. Like I did a good job, but I think Tim outdid me. So thank you, Tim. Thank you, Kip. I call him Kip, but thank you, Tim. Oh man. So we were talking about the mask though earlier, and the lack thereof. But you know who's making people wear masks now?
Girl, for a second, I thought you were literally talking about the masks like Jim Carrey. I said, when did we talk about Jim Carrey, girl?
See?
But no, Walmart. And so all these Karens out there have already been mad about wearing masks. Now Walmart and Sam's Club making you wear masks? Either that means Costco's membership is going to skyrocket even more than it already is. Or people are going to just finally have to be like, damn, okay, I guess I do got grocery shop real quick. Let me throw this mask on and submit to wearing a mask. So
I'm just wondering, because I don't watch Fox News or any of that stuff. Like, I just wonder who's gassing up these Karens? Like, because it's got to be somebody. Like, folks don't just wake up on the side of the bed. They're just not that intelligent. I'm sorry. I'm just putting it out there. They're not that intelligent and not that woke to be like, oh, you are infringing upon my rights as an American, and I'm not going to be putting on a mask. And then they go to the dentist, they go to the supermarket, they go to Trader Joe's, they go wherever they're going to go, and they don't have their mask on. And then they want to act a fool in front of somebody. Like, I can't imagine that they have that much forethought in order to do it. So somebody's got to be gassing them up, and I just want to know who that is.
Maybe, like you said, they're just not that intelligent to know that they in the wrong to begin with. Like, they just simply missing several hundred fucking screws, and they go into Home Depot and Walmart to get a couple because of the fact that they ain't got none.
Something. It's weird.
It honestly, it don't make no sense.
It makes none. And like one of my friend Chris, he was just like, they've just lived a life so privileged that they don't even know what the word no is, or having someone tell them to do something, even if it's for the good of them, their family, and their community. That now literally we have something that is affecting everyone. And we're like, okay, can you just please wear a mask for the little 10, 15 minutes that you're in the grocery store? Right. And they got to find something to bitch about because they're finally being told, quote unquote, or at least they think they're being told what to do. And
they're being told what to do.
Well, they're definitely being told what to do, but it's just like, they've never been told what to do usually. And so now that they are, they're just freaking the fuck out and having these tantrums. And you're like, but it's for the good of you.
And that's the, like, by comparison, what is being asked of them is nowhere near the kind of struggle and heartbreak and like and anxiety and the amount of weight that's been on our shoulders coming up Black and brown. Sorry. Like, you're getting a tiny little bit of, of like,
And not even oppression is not inconvenience. Those are not the same things.
Absolutely, that part.
Part. Yes, it's inconvenient for all of us. Yes, it sucks. Yes, you get hot. Yes, but that doesn't mean you're being oppressed for wearing a fucking mask.
And I love those memes that have been going on that compare like these folks to like, oh, but the surgeon that just spent 9 hours, rebuilding your fucking back or whatever, who happened to be wearing the same goddamn mask to protect you from infection.
Right.
Somehow they're able to do this, but you are not.
Which
like,
you can't.
Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Going hunting and all that stuff.
Right. I like the meme out there that was going around that was saying like the nice thing about having to wear a mask these days is people realizing that they breath stink.
I haven't seen that one, but that's the truth.
I was like, ooh,
that is the truth.
That's probably why they mad right there, because they got us on a stink ass breath themselves. Like,
ooh, you right.
You ever try to like smell your own breath and do like or you do and you try to like get it. Like,
you be like, ooh,
you're like,
let me go there.
That's a mess right there.
Girl, look, I'm so over all this. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm fine with the social distancing and the guidelines for COVID. I'm just over the people just not giving a fuck anymore. And I'm tired of being part of the crew and the people that are giving a damn and continue to social distance. And then yet hearing all these people bitch about it and also not do it at the same time.
Right.
And I'm normal. Like, I don't like to wish bad on people, but if you got an issue with it, Jesus, take the wheel. Jesus, take the wheel and take them off the greener pastures, because I'm done with them. I'm done with all of them. I don't care who it is. I don't care if you blood or not.
I know.
If you're pushing us back, I don't have time for it. I mean, like, you got, school, people talking about schools opening up. You got Trump talking about he's gonna, withhold federal funds for education if the schools don't open back up. Teachers are already fucking way underpaid,
right?
And then you want to tell them to go and risk their lives on top of that, and you want to talk about, oh well, only 0.02% of children actually die from it. Did you know out of all that, then that means there's over 14,000 kids that's going to die this year alone? Because if you do the math, like, that's still a lot of fucking people
since March. That's
right. on top of that, like,
I do feel like what New York got right, and I don't know if you guys have seen this in your areas, but and we got it right, because our numbers have been going down, which is great, and we had the first couple of days.
They just donated a lot of stuff to Atlanta this week. Andrew Cuomo donating
and
sanitizer and masks down here.
Yeah, and I feel like, Cuomo's been doing a fantastic job, and he was upfront. He's like, we're going to, we have the biggest need in the United States due to volume. We need these supplies. And then when we're done with them, we're going to pass them on. And he's living up to that, which I think is awesome. But I also think what's helped is not only is there a mandate, for you to be wearing a mask when you're outside, but also in order for we have bouncers everywhere. You go to the supermarket, there's a bouncer at the door. When the last 2 weeks, for those of you that were watching on YouTube, I had a little bit of a different background because Adam and I were home in Indiana. And when we go to places there, they might have a sign on the door that says mask required, but nobody's checking. And when we were in the supermarket or at the gas station or, those were basically the only two places we went because we were being extra careful around them. People were not wearing, I would say 75% of people were not wearing masks indoors. Mm-hmm. So what New York has been doing is we have a bouncer in the door. You can't even get in if you ain't got a mask. Okay, you can't come in. Right. If that's infringing on your rights, oh well, bye. You can't come in.
Right.
Period. You can get a mask and come in, or you cannot get a mask and go. But like I feel like in a lot of other states, there's like this everybody puts like this kind of like Post-it on their window, like that's going to do something. But when people are inside, there's no one stepping up to people or preventing them from going in, number one, which is a problem. And then there's no one saying, you got to leave if you take your mask off.
And then if they do, they shoot them, like in Michigan right now. You saw that case?
Girl.
I'm like, people are, let me breathe. Because like it is just so infuriating to see adults act in this manner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like over a mask that you're literally going to have on for an hour tops. Say you're doing a long grocery shopping list, you know?
Right.
For an hour, you're going to shoot somebody for not wanting to wear a mask all over for an hour in your life. And now your ass, hopefully, because it was white people doing this shit, so hopefully they get convicted. But now you're going to be chilling in jail, and what you going to say? What you in jail for, man? What you in jail for? Well, you know, I shot somebody because I didn't want to wear a mask. What the fuck? That sounds so stupid.
It does. It really does.
Like, it's ridiculous.
I'm not going to lie, though. The petty in me is catching my whole life.
Sure.
Because there are all these videos all over the internet of these people, mostly white people, who are bucking against the system and catching them fades.
Oof. Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not one to incite violence, but I'm just saying, like, you get what you get. So if you want to walk into a place, because there have been videos, like you'll see videos where people like, there'll be like a Karen, you know, that walks up to somebody and coughs on them. You cough on me, you're not going to be living. It's a wrap.
I think there's like a Facebook page. There's like a Facebook page or a Twitter page or something like that. That's like Karens of the Wild.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just
going wild.
Yeah, Karen's going wild. And it's literally just videos and posts about Karens. I love it. I don't know. Like I said, I want people to finally get together, and I think you guys are right. We need to start. There needs to be repercussions for not having a mask. You know, like if you give people the option not to, they're going to choose not to. That's simple. Right. Yeah. So take the option away and fuck the whole, it's my freedom, it's my right. Well, there's also laws that if you're endangering other people, well, there you go. Like, it trumps that bitch. Sorry.
And it's the same.
And
as
the
like
killer part is there
and all that too. Like that's the part that like I really don't like. Just okay, cool. Yes, you feel like it's an inconvenience, but how is it bigger inconvenience than like a seatbelt and things like that? You know, like we have a lot of things that it might not be the most comfortable thing on earth, but it's saving your life. Yes, I hate the roller coaster that's digging into my chest, into my lap, and you know, but it's saving your life. Like,
yeah.
So it's just like you just want to argue to argue. That's what this is. Like,
and you know what? I also like I don't want to give the impression that like I don't sympathize, because
I don't.
Hear me out. Now I don't, but I'm just saying, like, I understand, because if you're not living in like a hotbed, like, you know, I'm in New York, so we're in a hotbed. You know, there's millions and millions and millions of people, and the way that you get around is through public transportation. So you're around people all the time. You know, you live in an apartment. I've got a person. Well, I don't have a person above me. I have, you know, 2 apartments below me. Got 2 apartments on either side of me. When I walk outside my house,
y'all. She in that penthouse, y'all.
Mm-hmm. But you know, COVID rises though. No, I'm kidding.
But like at the end of the day, you know, like in New York, you know, we had to be locked down. Whereas if you lived in like, you know, I don't know, Columbus, Ohio, you get to places in your own car, like you're more isolated. You live in your own house, isolated from everybody else. You have more control over like your environment. You're not running up on people, except for, you know, in these smaller instances to a degree. So if I remember back like a couple of months ago when this thing first started, even I was like, I don't know if this thing is going to be as big as it, whatever, you know, but the proof is in the pudding. And when people started dying, it's like, okay, that tune just got changed. Yeah. So I do feel like, you know, on the one hand, I can understand if you are not personally impacted or know people that have been personally impacted, it's easier for you to be in that camp of, I'm not doing it. But if you if you have somebody in your life that has been impacted by this, it makes you think a little bit differently. And I just feel like there's a lot of people out there who kind of like the gay thing. You know, if you don't know anybody gay in your life personally, you know, that you care about, you don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Or somebody who's black or somebody who's trans, you know, it's almost kind of like, if it doesn't affect me,
I'm not thinking
I'm opting out.
Yeah.
And guess what that is? That's privilege, bitch.
And that's ignorance.
That's privilege. And the killer part about it is the disease is so like, it's indiscriminate with whom it impacts, but it's indiscriminate with how it impacts those people. We don't even know, like, oh, is it a blood type? Because there are certain people that test positive, you know, and are asymptomatic. Mm-hmm. So they never get any feeling of what it's like to be impacted by this. And then there are other people that are around people. Like I have a friend who had COVID, his partner, so he's like high risk in his 70s, had COVID and pneumonia at the same time. He has a lifelong partner, you know, been together for, you know, 30, 40 years or whatever. Lifelong partner, took care of him during this entire time. His partner has been tested 3 times. Doesn't have any antibodies, has never tested up positive as, you know, having been infected by it. How do you explain that? And he's been around him. So, you know, it's like, if this thing like affected you, kind of like if you got exposed to it, then you immediately had like the symptoms, I think people will be treating it a lot differently.
And that's the scariest part of this thing. What you literally just described is the scary part of this. Like, there's really no rhyme or reason at this point that we figured out, because it's still so new, of how this is impacting people, you know? And so that's why we preach wearing the mask. It's not about you. Fuck you.
Right.
It's about you cool. Fuck you.
It's just like, just be considerate. And, you know, and we're thinking of you, Dom. I don't know if you wanted that out there or not, but if so, I done said it. We're thinking of you because we know you work around that, and we know you've been sick as well. So
we love you, and we appreciate you, and we hope that you get a speedy recovery.
Absolutely. Man.
Yeah. Just shut everything down. Love, just.
What do you guys think is the likelihood of that happening? Like, for real, what do you guys think is the likelihood of that happening?
It won't happen as long as Trump is in office. It won't happen. And honestly, I think it won't be until spring next year, and hopefully we have another person in office that's going to make the change and actually get us on the right path, because he's not going to allow it. He is not going to allow it. And he's just going to allow his
March, April. We're not going to shut. I said, if we didn't shut down in March, April, when we definitely didn't know shit about this shit, we're not shutting down now.
Well, and the crazy thing is that we had the opportunity to know shit about it, and he still didn't do anything back in December, January when it started in China. He didn't give a fuck.
And he was in Atlanta today at UPS, and he's still calling it the China virus A, which is pissing me off. Like, I saw that today. I was like, okay, Trump, you working my nerves, boo. You working my nerves. He's like, it started in China. And I'm like, how are we in July and you still calling it that ignorant shit? A. And then B, just the stuff he was still saying today. We record on a Wednesday here in Atlanta, Georgia at UPS. The shit he was saying up there today. And I usually don't watch it, but Corey had it on. And I was like, how are we in July and you're still saying this ignorant stuff? Like, literally, people have died by the hundreds of thousands at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And
north than 130,000 people have died as a result of this.
To make yourself look good. There was no empathy.
It's the number one killer in the United States right now.
Absolutely.
The number one killer
and there was still
people
no
in the United
sense
States.
of like, let me chill. You know, there's people really affected by this. There was none of that. So like you said, Jarrell, it's not going to shut down with him in the office. It's going to literally be until, hopefully, Lord,
you about to lose your job. You about to lose your job. Okay.
I'm not getting happy.
That's the energy I'm putting out there. That's the energy.
I'm glad you are. I'm glad you are, because you know I had that energy going into 2016, and when I tell you I was drunk as fuck by the end of the night, because I was disappointed. Like,
I went to bed at like 9:30. I was like physically ill. I was like, I saw it.
I was in Canada.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I was in Canada that time. I was in Canada. And I went to bed early before all the votes came in, and I woke up to a whole different kind of world. And I was like, well, here we go. And I'm like, damn, do I really want to go back there? The truth is going to be, I don't want to put this energy out there because I believe.
Don't do it then. Oh no.
I believe in the American people, and I believe that they will show up to the polls and that we will be able to get new representation, get Joe Biden in there so we can start, a new way of life. However, if that is not the case, I seriously have to think about whether I want to be here for the next 4 years. And I'm being 100% for real.
Community, get out there and vote.
I have to think about
register and vote. Register your neighbor. Register your 18-year-old kid.
I want my dual citizenship with Fizz. I want that citizenship up in Kosovo because we out this bitch. And to be honest, like, I'm glad you have faith, DeJuan, and the American people. I don't, because the fact that we were just talking about bitches not wanting to wear a mask.
You're right on that.
And I know them same people don't got the same energy to show up to the motherfucking polls. So
you know what has me encouraged, though? You know what has me encouraged? Two things. One, it's in the Black community. I think that have really seen the power of our collective. I don't want to say consciousness, but like our collective energy. Like we're starting to see things happen. Whereas, like 3 months ago, I think a lot of us were kind of like depressed as to like all the shit that we were seeing. And we was like, damn, this is terrible. These people are dying and we can't do anything. And now we've mobilized and we've seen some things happen. I feel so optimistic and encouraged by the mobilization of the Black community for our own interests that I feel optimistic in that. The other thing that has me.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said too. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, just real quick. The other thing that I feel optimistic about is, in addition to the Black Lives Matter movement and with Trans Lives Matter and a couple of other things, and we'll talk about that as we get a little bit further down, our allies have been showing up for us. And, I'm not saying all white people, all non-Black people have been showing up, but like more so than in recent years past. And that has me so encouraged that people are, standing up, they're stepping in, they're putting their convictions on the line, and they're really advocating on behalf of, the cause. Those two things together, really, if we can keep that energy going, I feel very optimistic going into election season. Not to say that we have an easy coast to ride. Like we can't just take our foot off the gas. We have to keep our foot on the gas and keep that same energy from now all the way through to November. But those two things keep me optimistic.
I read an article today, though, that they're saying that Black women are feeling Biden is not talking to them. And my suggestion to Biden, couple things. You better start talking to these Black women, because they are literally the bulk of this voice and this vote that you need. And then two, you better get Kamala, because that's going to at least help that perception, or at least let her talk to us and the Black women and everything. Because if you don't get this Black vote,
it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap. So you better figure a game. What's today? July 15th that we're recording this. And I might even put this as a teaser. Mr. Biden, I'm looking at the camera right now. You better talk to the Black community. You better have a specific voice for us, a specific plan for us, because if not, it's not going to look
That's
good.
What I think that our community needs. And that's exactly what our community needs, because I feel like Biden has dropped the ball when it comes to the Black community, and
everybody has.
Well, that's true. Everyone has. Remember how we raked Pete Buttigieg across the coals about him not? It's kind of like that same type of urgency now that he needs to.
Absolutely.
And it needs to be very clear, and it needs to be to the Black community, and it needs to be, and he needs to somehow be held accountable at this point, because we as Black people are fucking fed up, and so the last thing we want is someone who's gonna blow smoke up our ass and be like, oh, it's gonna be good. No, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
We need action. We need proof. We need to see this verbatim, like word for word, crystal clear.
Right. But I think also what our people need, though, too, is just I would love for there to be, like, outside of, the presidential debates, like, just like a forum, or like just, I don't know how to describe it, but like,
almost
I
like
would
a
just
town
love,
hall.
yeah, like a black people town hall. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, where like we talk about, okay, like, who are people in different states and in offices? What are their platforms, etc.? Like, what are some bills and things that are out there that we should be voting on in key states, etc., like that? Like, it shouldn't just be something that comes to a presidential debate where our community be like, we need to vote for a president that cares about us. Like, I think we need to start really taking it a step further, and and being like, okay, we need to get involved on all levels when it comes to the Black community, and just allowing people to do that. Because right now, I think there's just too much out there and it gets too overwhelming. And folks, but I don't got time for this. I got shit to do. I got 5 kids over there. I got mouths to feed. Blah 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 blah. But if there's something I can just pop on TV, we record on my DVR at 7 p.m. and I can watch it. I can go on YouTube or whatever the case is.
Who's good with that now? Like, because he already did Charlemagne. Like, he did Breakfast Club, and then I kind of backfired on him because he said some bullshit that he thought was a joke, but it didn't come across as a joke. So I don't know, and maybe that's something even just for the Black community. Like, we need to own having a collective voice and having members within our community. And I feel like lately we really haven't had that, like, specific people that we look up to saying, oh, we know, like, for a generation it was probably Oprah, who is ours, and it might be a Charlemagne, but he botched that. So like, who can we look up to? And maybe it's us, the aunties. Hey, we're trying, but how do we make sure within the Black community we have an ownership of someone that we trust, that's going to get the voice right, that get the message right, that get the things we truly care about right, that we care about and listen to right now?
I think the challenge that we're running into right now is that we are dusting off an old skill that we haven't used in a long time as a community. This social activism is something that hasn't been really utilized since like the 60s. So there's generations of folks who just haven't exercised, don't have muscle memory for how to utilize the voice, which is so encouraging that we are getting that now, like this focus on Black economy, this focus on, on identifying what are your key political issues. What are the things that you actually want to happen? And not just say, oh, I just want equality. Well, what does that mean to you? What does that mean when it comes to things like, reparations? What it means when it comes to investing in the Black community? What does that mean to, improving your station of life? Like, what are the tangible things? And I think, it's interesting because we're exercising this muscle. We're learning how to use this muscle. We're learning how to mobilize. We're learning how to articulate. We're learning how to use our voice and our platforms to be able to say, these are the things that we want. And, it makes me wonder, the election is in November, right? So we've got August, September, October, November. So we have 3.5 months between now and the election. It makes me wonder, like, where does the politics come in when you start making proclamations, right? Like, oh, I'm selecting Kamala Harris as my running mate. When does that happen? Because we know that when certain things happen too soon, they tend to lose momentum and lose steam, right? So how do you, and I just don't know. I'm not like a political analyst, so I don't have that kind of background. But like, I know that there is a time and a rhythm to these kinds of things, as to when would it make the most sense for him to announce his VP running mate, so that it doesn't become, too
early and not too late.
Too early, right? Because what 45 is doing right now is dominating the news cycle with all of his blunders. There is no incentive, in my view, for Biden to come out with who he selected right now, because
I agree,
45 is fucking up. So if he comes in with this other kind of thing, it takes a little bit away from like all this fuckery that's happening.
Allows them to go after that,
and it gives them an edge. So it's like, where does that happen? But I agree with you, Carell.
Announcing that too would also take away from the pandemic that's also happening too. Like, it's it's all about just making sure that we are focused on the right things, but also it's like that's the right thing to be focused on too. So it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
right.
It really is.
And I agree with you. What you said. Well, actually, I agree with both of you guys said on two different points. But I'll consolidate. Biden had, in my opinion, does not have the right team around him, because either they're not prepping him correctly, because he felt way too comfortable, quote unquote, joking with Charlemagne, you know, Charlemagne the God, if you guys saw that interview a couple of weeks back. He felt way too comfortable joking with him about something that was actually really serious, and that wasn't the time and place for it. Right. So I feel like whoever is advising him is not advising him in the right way. Like Charlemagne is, and his crew, the Breakfast Club, are really the voice of the people. Absolutely. And they have a lot of clout and a lot of reach. So the fact that he felt so, and I'm putting words in his mouth, but the way that it came off, perception is 9/10 of the law. So flippant about that interview, not recognizing the power that interview has with the Black community. That was a mistake.
He did good all the way up to that point. So that's the thing. And like, everyone doesn't even remember the rest of the interview because it was a very good interview.
Right.
But then that soundbite, unfortunately, that's what we live in. I mean, we put sound bites all the time, the teasers and everything. That's the point of it. But now it's not the time to do your joking. I know you like the joking. I know that's how a lot of times he's charismatic, and that's how he kind of gets people to be drawn to him. But right now, you can't stumble. No. You can't miss a step. You can't miss a joke, like, because
he needs the Black vote.
Trump is just going to say whatever and twist whatever. Exactly. Right. And he needs our vote. He needs our vote. He needs the Hispanic vote. Like, so, and the thing right now, even just outside, even like Black Lives Matter, I'm loving the voice like the Native American community is having right now. I'm loving the voice that the Hispanic community is having right now. Everyone is seeing that, oh shit, hold on. If I speak up and riot and protest and actually let me know that, no, I don't stand for that anymore, etc., that shit could be moved, here for it. So that's the energy he should be tapping into. Everything he is saying is literally just regurgitate what we're already saying. You don't even have to rethink anything right now. We're giving it to you for free. Just regurgitate everything that we're saying right now until November. Even if you don't like it, just get us through November 3rd. You know, right, wrong,
there
or
ain't no reason to rock the boat at this point.
Really
you ain't got to say nothing extra. You don't have to introduce new policies. All you have to say is, yep, I agree. Yep, exactly. I agree with that. Yep, we're going to be looking into that. Yep,
yes, maybe have a plan here and there, but just regurgitate us right now, because if not, you are getting in your own way.
100%.
Sometimes, like, we just tell people to sit down and shut up. Like, at least especially in our community, we're like, go and sit down somewhere. Yeah. That's what you need to do. Go sit down somewhere and regurgitate.
I agree with you guys. I agree with you guys. I agree. However, part of me doesn't. And at least with the part of, like, just basically say what we're saying, you know, just get the Black vote. Because I think that's the number one thing in our community that the Black folks are upset about, is the fact that we're shopped for our votes. And then once we're shopped for our votes, we're forgotten about.
Right.
And so I don't want to put that out there, and I don't want to encourage any politician to ever do that, because that's how we are where we are now. Like, you know, that's actually not giving a fuck about us, you know, to act or to for them to be like that. So the truth is, and the truth is, I think, Corel, what you said at the end is, like, having the plan, you know, like, you hear us, we're telling you, so you don't have to think about it yourself, you know? So it's like, you basically have the answer to the test. Now you just need to do the work behind it. You don't need to put
nothing extra on it.
Just put it to paper. You don't, nothing else. Like, you like, that's it, you know? But I don't know who it is in our generation. But I don't know who it is in our generation that could be the person to kind of, like, give him a go, whatever. And at this point, I think it's less about Biden, but I think it's just about more just educating our community on politics as a whole. Because I think once we educate our community, then the accountability that's required from these politicians become that much more. And it's no longer just about shopping the vote. So I think we have to tackle it at both ends. We got to make sure that we continue to hold these politicians accountable with not just their words, but the action and the follow through, as well as making sure that we're educating our community. So it's not just a handful of Black folks being this spokesperson, but it's all of us being like, you gonna hear me. Because like you just pointed out, Corel, once we all start speaking up, then shit gets done.
Exactly.
So if we start doing that in politics, then like DeJuan has been pushing, it's about those policies and changing these laws. That's how we're going to start seeing.
And we need to know what we want too. Like as a collective, as a community, we need to all be on the same page as well. And I think that's where sometimes, a lot of times, at least in the past, it's good to kind of have those one or two kind of people, not like spearheaded, but at least a focal point. Be like, okay, yep, Charlamagne, you heard the collective. Now you have the clout and the platform to say what we're saying. And I feel that besides maybe the Breakfast Club, I'm trying to think. Maybe Whoopi, like, but even Whoopi's almost like a different part of the Black community too. Like, I don't know who else right now for everything we're saying could like be like, okay, these are the bullet points that we have. I'm going to make sure that Biden get, and that's what ultimately you need. Maybe an Angela Rye.
Angela Rye is what I was thinking of. Yeah.
I don't think it just needs to be. I don't think it just needs to be one person. And that's the thing. Like, I would love to be a panel of people. I don't know if it's
possible, honestly.
Well, and that's just the thing. Like, I think it could be like a panel of like 5 different people, because the truth is, like, there isn't one Black person that can speak to all of us, because the truth is the fact that even when Obama was in office, he didn't speak for all of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are still those Black folks who feel like he didn't do anything for Black people. So, like, there can't just be one person for it.
I think you still have like the MLKs and the Malcolms and things like that. Kind of like they took the voice of the people and were those people, like were like the pillar heads.
Who's been amplifying that?
Mm-hmm.
You know who's been in my view, who's been really amplifying and stepping into that role is Killer Mike. Hands down, Killer Mike has been a prolific and articulate, and I hate using that word articulate because it's like it has a whole bunch of connotations to it, but right. But I think the way that he is able to break down the history, the economics, and the impact, and drive that into action has been impeccable. And I think what's also happening is there is an underswelling, a groundswelling that's happening in the Black community where if Joe Biden, now who has the Democratic nomination and representing the Democratic Party, doesn't get this right, in my opinion, you're going to see a lot of people leaving and to create something different.
Yeah. Because
at the end of the day, we've been rocking and riding with the Democrats for a very long time. And it's been said over the last, 8 years, it's been said that, oh, well, you just expect that we're going to vote Democrat. But there are a lot of people that are fed up with that and are ready to move to a whole new kind of party, to create a whole new kind of party that can represent our interests.
And we need people locally to step in too. So like to do stuff like that, okay, we could bitch and complain all we want, but if you ain't showing up to the PTO meetings, you ain't showing up to vote, you ain't showing up to this, PTA, whatever.
Ain't nobody showing up to the PTO meetings.
You know they're showing up to PTO like, bitch, look.
Whatever damn meeting.
Yes, I love it.
It's just like I feel like a lot of times we'll speak a good word. We'll be like, we need this, we want this, we want this. But your ass didn't vote last time. Your ass didn't show up to whatever function last time. Oh, I was too busy. Mm-hmm. Oh no, I went to the club last night. I don't want you nowhere. Just shut up because you are not putting action into these words that you're saying on Twitter. You're not putting action into everything you're putting on IG. You just want to be cool and put your little black square, maybe put a little story here and there, but yet you're still at the crib. No, we can't.
Damn, I wish there was like an I voted icon that could just be attached to somebody so that right? If you ain't got that icon, we got an issue.
We got an issue. Absolutely.
Yeah, but again, that's why, like at the beginning, that's why I had that idea of like, there needs to be like some type of like Black town hall or something that just starts reiterating the importance of us voting. And like you said, DeJuan, like people are now starting to flex something that they haven't had to do since the 60s, and it's time that we start to re-educate, because how they were doing it back then still isn't the same way necessarily how things are done today, especially now that the age of social media and the possible new ways of voting, etc. So like, I would just love to just see like a town hall. Like we've seen those videos where they get Democrats and Republicans together and stuff. There's no reason why they can't be 5 or 7 politicians and 5 and 7 different type of celebrities or people who are just who've been speaking up, like a Killer Mike and Amanda Seales or Angela Rye or something like that, and just getting something together.
Do you think Obama could find a way, even if it's not him or maybe a Michelle, maybe that's their new role?
No, because the thing is
spearheading it, but then like they're not.
I feel like it's got to be somebody like Killer Mike, because I feel like folks like Obama,
but I mean, like who could
or
get
even
like the
Angela Rye or whatever. But I feel like they are so politicized because they're so polarized because of their political affiliation that it feels like a certain kind of agenda is driving this together. Whereas somebody like Killer Mike says, if you guys will remember from his participation in the Revolt panel, in the Revolt panel, he was like, y'all over here arguing over who has the best master. Like Democrats and Republicans.
I'm saying like who can gather those people? Let's talk about gathering those people. Like Michelle
they don't even have to be the face of it.
Yeah, they could talk about getting people to be on board, like to organize it. You know, don't have to be from behind the scenes.
But like, okay, Killer, I got your number. Angela, I got your number. Charlamagne, I got your number.
Exactly.
Oprah, I got your number. I don't need to be the face of it at all.
Pull it together.
Like, because
better not be
Candace
Owens though.
Bitch, and no. Kanye. At least Kanye out the presidential race. Bye.
Fact.
Remember what I said last week? That was a joke.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, honestly, I think that's what we need to start doing for our community, and I think not just us as Black folks, but I would love for it to start seeing that just like in other, communities and cultures as well too. Because the truth is, it's the POC minority groups that are the least educated or the least, or the least kind of marketed when it comes to educating about the importance of voting and the stuff happening locally and the state and the federal level. Like it's only till, the presidential elections come around that you see people starting to care, but you don't see it that every 2 years as much as you do as when it's every 4 years for the big guy,
it pisses me off. I'm like, we talk such a big game.
Yeah.
But we're not showing up when we need to show up. And like, we need people in our community, and maybe it is like the Killer Mikes, because they come from that culture, to be like, hey, y'all, like, we're going to rally troops. And honestly, I'm getting involved here in Atlanta because I'm like, I don't want November 3rd to come up and people in my like East Atlanta area, where it's like still a lot of Black people here, don't know how to get to the polls, don't have a ride to get to the polls, whatever. So literally I've reached out to people. I'm like, how can I help as a Black man? Because obviously a lot of the people that are running even a lot of this Democratic stuff locally are white people. So they might not be able to talk, whatever it may be, within these communities. How can I, Carell, be involved to help you to make sure that we're getting as many people of color specifically, and that's just out Black, brown, Native American, Middle Eastern, to the polls on this November 3rd? And then how do we carry this even outside of November 3rd? Because they're not going to sit down and like chill. Let Trump lose on November 3rd.
Oh, they're not rolling over. They're not rolling over. You know, so they got
something up just beginning of the fight. So
I do
that's
feel
something
like
that I think we all need to do within our communities. Like, yeah, we're talking this, but we all have a voice and a way to be like, you know what? Even though it's just one person, Carell, here in Atlanta, if I could get 5 people, and then they could call that homegirl, hey, you know what? I just talked to Carell, this dude just down the street. He said I could get to the polls from 7 to 8, and here's someone to watch the kids, just like to get, like you said, the education and the knowledge out there. If there's a way just slowly but surely from now, July to November, in our own local communities and community members listening right now, let's do this. We all have a way to rally right now. Like,
I would love for there to be like a voting rideshare app that come out, like it's election day and it's local people,
being Uber or something,
but like,
Uber app. Yeah.
Right. But it's just local people that just want to sign up to be a one-day Uber or a one-day Lyft driver.
Yeah.
And it's specifically for if you are going to your polling places.
I'm here.
And your community, and allow people to volunteer in that way.
Amazon, you out there? Alexa.
Because I think that would be amazing. I think that would honestly be amazing if people could volunteer, take the day off and just drive people back and forth around in their community.
Who we know
to
at
the
Uber?
different polling
Community.
places.
Who do we know at these places? I'm dead ass serious. I don't care. I will call or cold DM, email a person. I don't care.
I think the other part, of the conversation, I know we're beating this to death.
But hey, it's important.
But it's important. I think the other part of the conversation is, in so much as the Black community and our allies are starting to learn how to flex our political, social muscles, there are organizations that are out there today that have been doing this forever, and I feel like they need to step the fuck up. Like, they need to step their pussies up. Like, BET, I know that you own by a white man now, but you still Black entertainment television. So you, in my opinion, you have an obligation, to the Black community to have more of your airtime dedicated, towards education and policy informant and all of that kind of stuff. Like, there's a big opportunity there. I was just looking at a couple other things. The NAACP. You have an obligation to step your pussy up and get into this space and do some education and some outreach and some reform. Black Lives Matter movement, I feel like you guys are doing amazing job. And I think that if you can translate this into the political reign, there's a great opportunity to get people together here. And then the National Black Caucus. Like, these are prolific, established, with the exception of Black Lives Matter, what is new, established organizations that are specifically purposed for progressing the Black agenda. And I feel like you guys are not stepping up to the plate, because we are not hearing jack squat from you. We hear more from Black Lives Matter and from other conversations with each other than we do from these organizations that are, quote unquote, supposed to be representing us.
That's why I keep saying we need to take advantage of ourselves. Like, okay, we don't like what they're doing. Let me get homegirl down the street. Like, now's the time. Like we said earlier, we're speaking up and mountains are moving. So it might be you down the street speaking up. It might be me speaking up. It might be Dewan, Jarrell, whomever. You never know what's going to be that spark. So speak up, act out, find out information, and let's share that information as well. Don't keep it inside. Share it. So it might spark an idea for Dewan. It might spark an idea for Jarrell. It might spark an idea for me to get this shit that come November 3rd, we're on the same page and get Biden in and get the agenda that we want in there as well, and then post that, because they ain't going to roll over and die. And I know we beat it. It's an hour in already. I don't know how. Yeah. So we might as well get into it now, because we got Ashy Aunties. We got other crazy shit.
We got a whole catalog. We touched on 1, 2, 3, 4 of our topips. That's it.
So, okay. What time is it? What time is it?
Oh, yeah. Ask your auntie.
Oh man. Okay, I think I have it up here. And this one actually, this is an oldie but goodie that we're like, we never talked about this, and it's kind of along the same lines, honestly. And it says this is from actually Auntie Dewan. And this kind of went down when the whole Equinox of Soul cycle thing went on last year. But even since then, there's been additional companies. So it says, what should you do if you work for a company that either directly or indirectly does not support the LGBTQ community? And honestly, any minority community at this point, because a lot has changed even since last year. So what do you do if they don't support it and you work for that particular company? Yeah, you got bills that's due. I have
a thought, but I can hold it. Or I can dive in.
I don't know. Like, for me, I think it really just depends on your spirit, if I'm being honest. We all got bills to pay. That's just part of being adult and being grown. You got to keep a roof over your head and, shirt on your back, food in your stomachs, etc. But I also know that if you think that you need a job more than the job needs you, I think you aren't in the right place to begin with. Because especially when you're working for a large company or corporation, you leave, you fall over, you die, guess what? That position's gonna open up, and it's gonna be in LinkedIn, and they're gonna find a headhunter or somebody to fill in your position. So I think it's time that we start, really betting on ourselves, kind of like what DeWine kind of instilled in me going into 2020, like that was, one of my resolutions was just betting on myself and understanding that the value that I have on myself or for myself is set by me and nobody else. And so if I'm working for a company that doesn't hold my values, then I might have to rethink it. And if it's something where that they are also treating me along with those same said values that don't line up with mine, then you definitely got to go. But also at the same time, I would also say don't put yourself in a situation, like don't jump out of one messy situation and jump into another messy situation by like not being able to provide for yourself. Maybe have that plan B, that backup, or find the correct exit out, before just being like, I quit.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. There's two kind of thoughts that came to mind to this, and I think my answer, if we would have had this question a year ago when we first had it, I think my answer then would be different than now, actually, just due to recent stuff that I've seen personally at work with the Black Lives Matters movement. And obviously, this was specifically said to LGBTQ, but I think it's any minority situation. Mm-hmm. And we were in a situation where the Black Lives Matter movement was really ramping up a couple months ago. And a lot of our managers and even our company was kind of slow poking on their messaging to their internal employees. And there was a Black lady on my team that spoke up and called everyone, literally the big boss of the company, out on a town hall and said, you know what? You guys are talking about COVID. I'm glad you guys are letting us work from home. I love my job, et cetera, et cetera. However, comma. Mm-hmm. And she let them have it. Like, yes. She did not hold back. She said, I feel this way. She's like, I try not to speak for all the Black people in this company, but I can guarantee you they do as well. And I've talked to Carell. I've talked to other people on our team members, on our team that are also Black. And I can say that we do not feel seen. We do not feel heard. We do not feel like you are representing us within this company where here you are speaking so much about other shit, but you have been very silent about this. And so this is why I say I think my answer is changed now. I probably would have been a little closer to Jarrell, where it's just like, okay, it might be time for me to look for an exit plan, start networking, looking for other jobs, da-da-da-da-da. Now I think I'm kind of on the side, just like, at least speak up first. And obviously there's ways to do it. And like, she wasn't like yelling or anything, like she said it very tactfully, etc., but she let it be known how it went on for like a good 10 minutes. And we're all on a Zoom call. So we're all looking at each other. And I'm looking at people like, ooh, yeah, you ain't paying attention, And it literally, and I sent her a note after that, and I called her after that because I was like, thank you, because she had been working for my company for a while. And she spoke up in a way that I don't think I was comfortable yet, because I just didn't know everyone yet,
Right.
So, and literally, that was 2 months ago. They have literally got a new task force. I've met upper management that are Black that have, the upper management have talked to like the CEO and everything about their experiences. That has never come up. It's like one guy has been there for a decade, and he's like, we've never had these conversations. All from like a person that's like at my level. I'm a decent level, but I'm not like the CEO and everything like that. And he's like, I'm having a conversation with the CEO and even my managers that we've never had before. It's allowed me to get in contact with this guy as well, who's a Black upper manager, to start that networking opportunity. Yesterday, I was on a call where, again, the CEO is literally our priority now for the remainder of the year. Diversity and inclusion, diversity in, I forget the title of it now. Diversity and something inclusion, something, I forget the title, but literally has shifted our company. Like, our company, it's not like 100 people, it's thousands of people. The focus of the company. So I was like, wow, if she did not say anything on that call that day,
this wouldn't happen.
This would not have happened. And literally the 8 weeks since this has happened, the things have changed. The refocus on diversity at our company. And they've literally Juneteenth came up that morning. They had an article. They had stuff to how to celebrate the day. If you need to take off the day, like my manager gave me the day. Like, so speaking up again, and we just talked about it for like an hour before this. It's interesting just asking for something that, especially when you feel not represented and not seen and not understood, how that could change the narrative, and it could change it quickly, you know? So here she is. Now we're being seen. We're able to keep our jobs, continue to pay our bills, you know, like she just had a kid like 3 months ago. So she had just came back from maternity leave, you know, so earlier this year. So she had been here for like a month before this conversation happened. So it literally was like, wow, we have more power than we really truly give ourselves credit for. So speak up. That was a long-winded answer, I know, but speak up, because more things can change than you think potentially is possible.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with both of you guys. You know, when this situation originally happened, it was, you know, like a different world.
Yeah.
Literally a different world. There is a lot of momentum that is behind the Black Lives Matter movement. And this is not just about Black Lives Matter, but it's about anything that is of importance to you. And if I think about what the question is asking in terms of like, okay, well, you know, what should you do if a company directly or indirectly does not support, you know, the LGBTQ community, the Black community, the trans community, the whatever. And you know, I think it's important for you to have a point of view of what your specific convictions are with that issue, because there are some people that just don't give a shit, you know, and you know what? I'm not saying that's it's okay for them, you know, but like for me, like there has to be a line of respect and if, you know, as long as I'm working for another company that I don't specifically own, I'm giving my time, my energy, my talents, my intellect, my emotional state, and all of these things to the success of that particular company and the role that I'm in. And if that company shows by their lack of action or by their action that they don't value me or the community that I belong to, I have to do some quick soul searching. You know, I have to do some quick soul searching to find out, does this matter to me, number one? Because for some people, it's like, I'm just chasing a check and this is a means to an end. And I don't give a shit about the company I'm working for because it's financing my ability to do X, Y, Z. So I get that. Totally get that. But if you're passionate about what you do in that job and the company that pays you to do that thing that you're passionate about is not supporting you, you have to ask yourself some really tough questions. And I agree. I think I agree with both of you guys. You know, it doesn't serve anyone for you to be silent. So you have to kind of figure out what is the best way to voice your concern, your question, your point of view, your perspective, your experience, whatever that is. You have to find out what's the best way to express that within the confines that you have or the environment that you have. But then the other thing is, before you do that, I think it's really important that you think long and hard about the what if. So what if you express, and, you know, Carell, you just shared a really great experience with somebody who, you know, took a risk on a public forum, you know, which ended up benefiting the company in total because it shifted the culture, you know, but I'm sure there are other people that have expressed similar things and it didn't do diddly squat, you know, and so, you know, and it might have put them on some kind of blacklist.
Right.
I need to stop using the word black as a bad thing, like
on
the naughty list. So I think that it's important for you to think about before you say something, before you put yourself out on the limb or whatever, what is your game plan? You know, I'm going to say this, and if this happens, what do I do next? Or, you know, and if you say something, I think you also need to be prepared that you might be the one tapped on the shoulder to lead it. Because I think a lot of people are willing to say something because they want somebody else to do the work. So you need to, we need to think about We need to think about, like, when we're voicing our concerns and we're wanting some change, are you ready and willing to put your feet in those shoes so that you can be the one driving the charge through? Because that's another thing. Because your CEO may come to you and say, hey, Jarrell, I want you to lead this initiative for our company. And then you're like,
oh shit!
I wasn't ready for that.
No, it's true. Literally, they've asked us now. They've pointed out saying, "Hey, we're putting this task force together.
Yeah,
will you be a part?" And obviously, I'm gonna say, yeah, this is right up my alley. But you're right. They're gonna come to you. It's like, okay, you got this concern. Do you have a game plan? Do you have actions? What can we do? What are our blind spots? And if you don't have answer to that, now you just look like you bitching and complaining.
Exactly. When I was with American Eagle Outfitters a while back, I was instrumental in a critical part of building the diversity and inclusion program, specifically because as a prominent and present leader in the organization, I had access to a lot of people. I interacted with them from a training perspective and a bunch of other things. And, other people saw me and my position with the company, and they said, okay, I need to talk to him about diversity and inclusion because we're not feeling seen. And it was my responsibility to take that to the head of HR and say, we need to be doing something about this. And here are my ideas of things that we can get accomplished. That turned into a diversity and inclusion initiative that was launched by the entire company to address specifically those concerns, but be also inclusive of other marginalized or underrepresented, parts of our organization. And I just give that as an example to say, don't be thinking it would be a mistake, in my opinion, for a person who is not feeling valued by their company to just voice their concerns or whatever and not be expected to participate in an active way in making changes in that organization. And on the other side of it, if your words are falling on deaf ears, you have to be, thinking about what are you going to do? And is that you're going to continue working there until you can find something, that's more aligned with your values? Or are you going to continue working there and try to chip away at the exterior so that you can make some headway within your own organization? Or are you going to do something else?
And it's going to be person by person. It literally, like, what works for DeWanda might not work for me. What works for me might not work for Jarrell. So it's literally a gut check for yourself of, because your finances, your family situation. Like, we get it. Like, it's hard, especially now. Like, a lot of people aren't hiring right now. There's 50 million people unemployed right now. So it might be to a point right now you're like, what, I just got to do what I got to do to survive.
Right.
Understandable. But I think that last part you hit on, DeWan, maybe there is opportunity to slowly chip at it that fulfills your spirit while the job is still fulfilling your bank account.
Bingo. I love that.
But yeah, that was a great question, honestly. And continue to send your Ask Your Auntie questions, aya@minorityReport.com, or DM us. We love these questions, and obviously this was a little different. A lot of the times we kind of get into these relationships and things like that, but there's other aspects of life that you can ask these questions about. And honestly, one is actually a timely question. We didn't even plan this, but even with like the Nick Cannon stuff right now, just like you might have a relationship with a company for decades and you might actually speak your piece about literally the oppression that still is going on the Black community. And I listened to what he said and I was like, okay, wasn't that like wrong?
It wasn't wrong. It wasn't anti-Semitic at all.
It wasn't at all. Like, I was like, there's anti-Semitism. Is that how you say it?
You got it right. Yeah.
Semiticism. And then there's just like a statement. Like, it wasn't, because anti-Semitism was like anti-Jewish and things like that. So I was like, I was listening. I was like, he didn't say nothing. But once again, if you don't own the company, a lot of times, don't matter how long your relationship has been, they might not like something and they'll get rid of you. And I'm glad to see our community and the people of color communities stepping up saying, nope, that ain't it. We ain't here for that. Like, he didn't say shit. That was crazy. And you know what? Don't go back to Viacom. We got you. Revolt TV. Okay. Diddy's like, hey, I own Revolt TV. Here's a Black-owned station. We'll find something out. yes, a lot of people on like even like the Wild 'N Out show.
Yes.
There's hundreds of people that work for that show that Nick brought to Viacom 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago at this point. That's been
the
a
longest
cash cow
running
for them.
longest running hip hop and comedy program for that network. The longest running
cash cow for them. And
right, $1 billion business.
And I hope he's able to retain that. Like I know he's in fights already for that show because Viacom's looking to keep it, and he's like, I created this, blah blah. So ownership is so key within our community. But I think my point to get to this is just like we need to continue to help our communities and like the Revolts TVs and build these stations up in the BETs of the world. That way we're not looking at like these places. And even though I think BET is owned by Viacom, so it was sold off, but it's just like we need to look inward and say we have literally they've been banking off our creativity and our talents forever. We have the skill sets. Let's utilize it and grow our own shit. That way we don't have to worry about, oh, they didn't like what I said today and they could just get rid of me after 20 years and own the shit that I've done all my life. No.
Can I ask like just like a question? Did this for anybody else or for you guys specifically, because you're the only ones on the conversation. Did this come from left field? Because for me, like I'm just like, first of all, you went to some like podcast conversation that happened a long time ago or whatever, and there wasn't anything anti-Semitic about it just everything about this, how this broke out, seems suspect to me.
I feel like
it seems fabricated to me.
I feel like it's yes and no. Like I feel like there's been times over the years where certain people didn't like what Nick Cannon was saying because he has his own platform and podcasts and things like that, where he's been speaking on the Black community and the things that we need and the issues that are affecting our community for a while. And there's been times over the years where something will blow up a little bit, but like, oh, we didn't like what Nick Cannon said or this and that. And they'll kind of die. I don't know why this one ramped back up again. But I don't sleep on Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon gets some coins and checks, and he's going to find a way to get out of this. And as long as
he's already proven, what's interesting is this is why it bothers me, because he's already shown that he's willing to step away from an eight-figure salary when he was with AGT, America's Got Talent. He was willing to step away from, seven-figure salary, on principle. So it's ironic and it's bizarre to me that Viacom, would quote unquote fire him, over like these like words that he said that wasn't really anti-Semitic, and give the impression almost like there was they were responding to an upswelling of the Jewish community, when ain't nobody heard anything. This literally, when this thing broke, it was like, well, what did he say?
Yeah, like everybody was like, wait, where's the other clip? Like we must be missing a clip. Did they cut something out? Houseway? Yeah, I don't know. So we'll see what comes out of this. Obviously, this just broke today. So maybe by the time this episode comes out, things will kind of adjust a little bit. But hey, we are a creative being.
But it's like you said,
create some more and own this shit.
Don't sleep on Nick Cannon.
Don't sleep
because
on Nick
number
Cannon.
one, he's not hurting for cash. So he doesn't have to sell out his morals and his convictions, number one. Number two, he's highly creative and super connected within the entertainment community.
He's the one that brought The Masked Singer to Fox.
Bingo!
For that. So that's the number one show like right now. So like, but I'm sure his ego's still a little bruised. Anytime you get fired and things like that, you're like, wait, hold on. After all I did, like, so I'm sure
I don't think it's even an ego thing. I think it's just more of a character thing, like to kind of shape this as a making, like he said in his statement, like, you're not gonna make me the villain. Like I wasn't out here trying to attack people or anything of the sort like that. That was not what my statement was. And for you to attack my character like that to make me seem to be this angry Black guy, I'm not here for, So I'm totally all for him speaking up.
Bitch.
Right, bitch.
You got the wrong bitch.
Seriously. So Nick, we here for you.
Yes.
We are here for you.
And it's good to see the Black community rallying behind him.
Absolutely.
Because when this shit broke, you go to Black Twitter, you go to Facebook, you see all the comments and whatnot, and it's nothing but love. For Nick.
Because sometimes they call Nick Cannon, like our community calls him a little corny and things like that.
Yeah.
But not today. We're like, nah, we get to call him corny, but not you, Viacom. We got your ass, Viacom.
And let the record show, as Miss Claire Huxtable used to say, let the record show that when we look back on this is going to be a big mistake for Viacom, because the ventures that he has produced and he has been on without him will become like mayonnaise.
Yeah. And it just sucks. Like, you do feel bad, like, just the people that have been working with him on all these different shows and things like that. Because, like, he's the head of it. And that's the hard thing. Sometimes you get so big and, like, your company gets so just cash cows and things like that, and so many people working underneath you, that it's hard for you to speak your piece, because whatever you say ultimately affects hundreds, thousands of other people, even if it's true, you know? And so that's the hard lesson to learn. It's just like, what is that line when whatever you say, even though you need to say it, like, people look up to you to say it, but then you say it and the fallout happens, and now thousands of people might be without jobs during COVID, during all this shit, especially this shit, you know? So that's the hard thing. And you see it a lot with famous people. We're always telling them, oh, you need to speak out about Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ, da-da-da-da-da. But, like, it's so hard to say shit because, hold on, I'm like supporting my own family and community, and then people behind me are supporting it, you know, and I say it just a twinge wrong, quote unquote, whatever wrong
Joe
is.
Biden situation. Everybody looking at you sideways.
Absolutely. And so that's the crazy thing. It's just like, and for him, he didn't even say anything. And people interpreted it, and like you always say, perception's 9/10 of the law. They perceived it one way, and this fallout happened, which affects, unfortunately, again, a lot of the Black and brown community. You know,
damn.
So, Jesus, and man, but at least Asheville's trying to do something about it. Asheville, North Carolina, doing these reparations.
Come through.
They
come through, North Carolina.
Applaud to Asheville. Asheville's cute too. Have you ever been to Asheville?
Super cute.
I have not been.
It's super cute. The Carolinas.
Let's be clear though, cute. When we talk about these reparations, though, okay, they're not giving money to Black folks. Okay, they are putting money into Black communities, into the communities where Black
which
people
is
live.
important, which is what people have been asking for, to invest, to bridge the economic wealth gap that exists over the next 10 years, to invest into the Black communities
and not gentrify it at the same time. That's even key too, especially in Asheville. Because Asheville is actually a very liberal city in the middle of, like, red everywhere. It's just bizarre going there. You're like, okay, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Oh, wow, here's this gorgeous ass city. And gays everywhere downtown. And you're just
all
like,
the little flags, the little gay flags around. You're like, wait a minute, am I really in the North Carolina?
It's bizarre. Like, Corey and I, we've gone there maybe 3 or 4 times since we lived in Atlanta now. And there's even, like, this gay bed and breakfast up in the mountains that we went to. Gorgeous. You're just like, I'm in North Carolina. And it's just like this liberal bubble. And it's cool to see. And here's the thing that I just love hearing stories like this, the ripple effect. We always talk about the ripple effect. We know there's going to be some other little town or some other little city be like, okay, maybe there is something we could try. Let's relook at this. All it takes is one to have this ripple go. And I'm so here for it. And so, it might not exactly look at Asheville. They might not get everything right, but at least they're attempting and getting the ball moving, you know?
I love that you said that this is a ripple effect, because they are providing, like, a tangible action, and they're tipping their toe in the water to help bridge the gap. And I feel like Netflix, we talked about this on a podcast last week, Netflix did the same thing, you know, taking a percentage of their banking dollars and putting it into Black banks. You know, that's money that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to have. And, you know, like, that is a model that other businesses can say, wow, I didn't even think about, like, oh, well, I can just take my existing money out of JP Morgan Chase and put it into, you know,
that is financially
Black
possible.
Bank.
I know, because people always get scared of coinage, but now they're showing it's financially doable.
Yes.
And it's not hindering and hurting nothing else in our community.
Yes.
If anything, is going to aid our community and probably get tenfold back the money we spent on this.
Facts.
So
I mean, because I would want a bank where Netflix is putting their money. That's a pretty safe bet.
Seriously, absolutely, I agree. So, thank you, Asheville.
Yes.
Give them the template, and let's see what happens 5-10 years from now. Literally from this moment right now.
Yeah.
We're gonna look back and be like, "Damn, Asheville did this shit, and now look where we at."
The
like,
pioneers.
Atlanta did this. Minneapolis did this. Seattle did. You know, like I'm trying to think of like what's the whitest of the white, like Fort Lauderdale. I don't know. Like Wilt Manors.
Palm
did
Springs.
This. Ooh, girl, you're right. Oh, I love Palm Springs though. It's pretty out there. Oh, I need a vacay. Anyway, and then rest nicely. I don't know. Megan Thee Stallion got shot up after partying with Tory Lanez and Kylie. And wait, so hold on. Here's the thing. Megan got shot and in the hospital. Tory Lanez got like picked up by the cops.
Yep.
And Kylie's doing what? Just chilling at the crib, like
hanging out with her makeup.
Something ain't adding up here. Why is Kylie at the crib chilling? What happened here? Something's a little fishy. We're gonna find out. Hopefully by Monday we find some more shit out. But
she probably cried. You know how they get out of stuff.
Because all three of them were on IG Live.
What happened? It all just happened so fast, and I just.
All of them were on IG Live that night, and so they were on live partying together. And then they even showed when the cops were trying to bust up the party because the music was too loud, and that was it. Then we didn't hear from Megan for days.
Right.
And then she put out a little notice saying, "Hey, I was shot. I've been in the hospital getting surgery to get the bullets out, and I learned a lesson to like with the people I'm around." But she ain't said nothing. Like something weird here. Watch the people watch your crew. Watch your crew.
Wash your hands, wash your legs, wash your ass, and watch your crew.
watch your crew. That's for real. And then we
shout out to what's her name? Valentina Sampaio.
Oh, the swimsuit model.
Yes.
Sports Illustrated. That's
the first trans model in Sports Illustrated. Here for it.
I love it.
Let me get her name.
And that's like such a coveted like photo shoot too.
Yeah,
like,
Valentina Sampaio.
Yeah, that's amazing. Model. That is
here for it. And she fucking gorgeous. I'm like, damn, let me get my body together. Shit.
I know that there's a little bit of conflict with, some of these folks that get shine, because oftentimes there are folks that are more passing, right? And from the Disclosure documentary, and if you guys haven't watched it, I know we've talked about it on the last couple of episodes, but you guys should definitely go out on Netflix and watch the Disclosure documentary from
Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix by
Laverne
Thank
Cox.
you, Laverne Cox. Oh my gosh, that memory. She isn't as good as she used to be. But I know that there's trepidation from the trans community about people that get on, but let's not mistake the fact that progress is progress and visibility is impactful. And to have someone be on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a trans person, just increases the visibility of trans people in our community, humanizes them in a way that says, that they can be accessible and you can
and bankable
and bankable. And, these are folks that are viable options to do the jobs that need to be done, just like anybody else.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for her. She looks gorgeous.
I should go buy it just to have it as like a keepsake or something.
And support.
Just to support it. And then the Redskins getting rid of their name about damn time. Like that's been for decades.
They haven't announced what they're gonna change it to yet.
Yeah,
they just committed to changing it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a minute because I mean, it's the name, and so
they change it to the Caucasians.
Well, first of all, I mean, we're talking about the NFL, so most of the people playing anyways on the team and Caucasian. So
this is true. But if you're going to objectify somebody, come on now. Since the Karens of the world always want some extra, you can have that. Come on, you can be the Caucasians.
So kudos to them. It's going to be interesting too, like even the other Native American names of teams like Cleveland Indians,
like the Indians,
and Atlanta Braves, and to see, like, I know even like I went to Central Michigan University and we're the Chippewas, and I remember even in college there was a time where they're like, okay, is this offensive? Do we, do we not? And they asked the local Chippewa tribe there. They're like, should we change our name? And the local Chippewa tribe was like, no, we actually are glad because you're giving insight to our culture, blah, blah, blah. So that was, I'm not about to put how many years ago that was, almost damn near 20, but but that was then. But it'll be interesting if there's like a new generation of Chippewa tribes that are like, we do feel this is offensive and things like that. So it's gonna be interesting for schools, the Florida Seminoles. Like there's a ripple effect because they say we're like slavery was the original sin. No, like taking this damn country from the Native Americans was the original sin. Like,
all the soil that we are standing on right now.
I mean, the Mount Rushmore's taking their native lands. They're like, So we need to do right by them.
What is it Oklahoma? No, what state was just now decided by?
It was Oklahoma, the western part of
Oklahoma. Yeah, that like over 50% of the state is on Native American land.
Yep, the Supreme Court did it.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yes,
that was last.
That's a huge win. Last week, well, the 2 weeks once this episode comes out, but that's a huge win for the Native American community. You know,
but and we'll see what happens because I guess it was already technically, but the Supreme Court said yes, technically it is, and Oklahoma hasn't cared for the last 100, 200 years, however as long as it's been here in the country.
Yeah, because they're part of the South. They don't give no fucks.
So
can we give a shout out to the Supreme Court because they've been killing it this week.
There's a couple that I was like, I don't know if they got that right, but way more than I thought they would.
Yes, like given the two appointments that have been that are now on it's just I'm so encouraged. I'm so encouraged, at the objectivity to these cases that we're not seeing a purely conservative perspective being forced in some of the rulings with these most recent cases.
I agree. And RBG, get well soon, boo. Yes. Get out this hospital.
She's out of the hospital.
Holding on.
She's out now? She got out today. Yeah, she got out today. Yeah.
She's been having some scares. I'm telling you, just hold on until we get somebody else in this house. I'm just saying.
But she's fighting though. She's like, I'm about to vote in this hospital bed. Y'all ain't gonna, y'all gonna get this vote today. So hang on to their RBG. But
yes, we love you, boo.
But everyone, stay safe. Wash your legs, wash your ass, wash your hands, wash everything. Make sure you're registered to vote. Please fill out your census form too. If you have not filled out your census form, fill it out. It takes literally 10 minutes. You can do it online. Not even. Like, I think it was 10 minutes because it was Corey and I. Like, so I was like, oh, we are married. Okay, hey, girl. So yeah, fill it out because that's the representation for the next decade of your life. Just put that, think what you was doing in 2010. Like Black Eyed Peas was hot. Party rocking was hot. The next decade of your life is dictated on this representation.
I think people don't really understand the financial and community impact that the census has. And it's not just about, tallying up, who's in your household. Yes, that is a big part of it. But the other part of it is, how is wealth and, our nation's budget is distributed to support the communities that you're
living in. So you mad about these potholes?
Super important.
Fill out your census form. You mad your school ain't getting enough money? Fill out the census form. You
all that shit you learn in
representation.
Like all that shit that you learn in third grade civics class.
Right.
It's coming back now.
Third grade civics class.
Yes, third grade.
Seriously, fill that out.
Yeah, just care about it. And I think that's, care about it. If you can care about what's happening with Jada and August and Will Smith, you can care about the damn census.
And you can care about Breonna Taylor's murder still being out.
Look, okay? Right. Because you can't be in an entanglement with the census.
Say that one. I think we just gonna end it on that shit. How about that? Community, we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.